Well, just hours ago, a federal appeals court put on hold the FDA's ban on Juul e-cigarettes. Juul is calling the FDA's ban on its products an extraordinary and unlawful action. But the FDA says Juul did not give the agency enough information to evaluate the potential health risks of e-cigarettes. Now, Juul is facing more than 2,300 lawsuits since just last year, many of them connected to teens. The company also losing $259 million with a sharp decrease in sales. So we want to bring back our roundtable to discuss. Elaine, we'll start with you. Should the government be telling you not to smoke?
Well, the government should certainly be warning us about things that are potentially harmful and making sure that we're aware of this. And so what the FDA sounds like they're saying is that, listen, when we gave them the approval, they didn't provide us with all of the information. And so as Americans, we depend on that information to know whether or not we should move forward with doing something or not. So in this particular instance, it sounds like they're trying to roll back a mistake that was made from the get-go.
And we know there's a push to reduce the amount of nicotine also in regular cigarettes. So again, there's this push to kind of tamp down smoking within our country. And it seems to have worked because, over the years, the number of smokers here in America has decreased significantly. But Jason, what do you think? I mean, is this government overreach?
I mean, in this case, yes, it's government overreach. It's also government hypocrisy, because at the same time as they're saying that Juul is apparently too unhealthy for you to consume, they're also embracing a harm reduction strategy that passes out crack pipes as well as needles to addicts. You have setting up heroin injection sites. So there's just a level of inconsistency here. And if Democrats truly believe the idea of harm reduction, well, Juul is a way to reduce the harm associated with cigarettes. Nicotine is not the unhealthy component, of the product. It's the combustion that you are consuming when you're smoking the cigarette. It's the tobacco. It's not the actual nicotine.
Right.
Now, of course, nicotine is, in fact, addictive. It's an addictive substance. But in and of itself, that's not the unhealthy part.
Candace, what do you think?
Yeah, I think anytime we talk about anything being addictive, we need to be very cautious of saying that that's not the worst thing or that can happen or the bad thing. But the truth is that we're in a moment where, yes, we need to be healthy, we need to be safe, and we need to have all the information up front. And what the FDA is saying is, when we gave this green light, we were not given all the information, right? So I would rather the FDA pull back and say, look, until we can have all the information to give Americans the honest read of what this is, then we're going to halt. That is what needs to happen. And I think that in whether we smoke or not, we appreciate having the wealth of information that we need in order to make informed decisions.
Well, what about the fact, let's say on cigarettes themselves, we know there's that warning, smoking while pregnant can be harmful to babies. There's a warning there, but cigarettes are not banned. Pregnant women can still purchase cigarettes, right? So Nichole, what do you think about this? Is this too much from the government? Is the government, should they be telling people this?
No, government should not be regulating what you put in your body whatsoever. For God's sake, if they start looking at the fast food industry, we're all in trouble, because I like a good Big Mac once in a while. Piggybacking on something Jason said, in Portland, they've been doing this experiment in Portland now for months where the possession of extremely hard drugs is now legal. Heroin, meth, Oxy. They've had a 40% increase in overdose deaths over the past year there in Portland. And we're worried about vape. And I'm confused. Is the science settled on the long-term effects of vaping? I don't think it is, because if we are worried about the science being settled, if we are worried about the long-term effects of things we put in our body, a lot of Americans have been doing that in the past couple of years, and we don't know the long-term effects of it.
And that's true, because there are still other e-cigarettes, that are companies that are still able to make the products. Go ahead, Elaine.
Exactly. And I think the reason why, again, what we're looking at is that Juul did not provide all of the proper information in order for the government to make an informed decision. So we cannot compare that with what's happening on a state-by-state basis, or maybe with some nonprofit or organization that's providing people with whatever they're saying they're doing. We're saying, as Americans, that we're relying on the federal government to provide them with the correct information so that this way each person can make their own informed decision. If you want to smoke a cigarette while you're pregnant and you see that on the package, then that's all for you. But at least the government made sure that you were informed of this. So that, I think that's the key here, that we need Juul to make sure that they are providing all of the information about their product.
Any response, Jason or Nigel, to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little confused by that argument, at least. I understand it, but number one, no one is reading any of the data. Not a single consumer is reading any of the data that you're talking about, that you're demanding. Now, in fairness to Juul, they're saying that they did provide all the information. I find it hard to believe that this is just about not getting the information and all of a sudden they figured that out. I just don't buy that argument. Again, at the end of the day, if the goal here is, but if Juul is deemed unhealthy and unsafe, does the FDA have a responsibility to pull it, to ban it completely? And the answer is probably yes, right? Certainly a moral responsibility. And yet at the same time, as much as we want to poo-poo the idea of handing out needles, we know as a matter of fact that that is not safe, that smoking fentanyl is not safe, that smoking crack is not safe. I'm just saying, let's have some level of consistency just across the board.
Right, and we can, I mean, that certainly would be a good debate for another roundtable as well, because there's reasons that those attempts are being made to have the safe spaces. But anyway, all right, panel, we're going to stop the discussion here because we still have more to get to. And thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.